Am I the a-hole for refusing to apologize for accidentally breaking my brother? Plus updates. Some context. I, 32 female, was violated when I was 17 during a home invasion when I was home alone. It has taken me years of intensive therapy to learn to live with what happened to me, and I am now in a great place and overall happy. I should mention that as part of my healing process, I've taken Muay Thai/kickboxing since I was 18 to help develop a sense of control and self-defense. One of my few triggers due to the nature of how my attack went down is being grabbed from behind. Being grabbed from behind automatically makes me panic and triggers my PTSD. All my close friends and family are aware of this. They don't all know the reason behind the fear, they just know not to do it, including my brother-in-law. Now, on to the AITA part. Last week, I hosted a get-together with a couple of family and friends at my home. My brother-in-law, 29 male, has always been something of a prankster/jokester. In the 5 years that he and my sister have been together, we have gotten along fairly well, and his prankster ways has never been an issue since he's never really directed them towards me. At one point during the evening, I went upstairs to change. My brother-in-law thought it would be hilarious to scare me as a prank. While heading back downstairs in the hallway, he came out of the guest room and grabbed me from behind. I lost it, and in my panic, I elbowed him in the face, which ended up breaking his nose. Even after everyone rushed upstairs and I saw it was just him, I could not stop spiraling and was in a full meltdown. I ended up calling him every name in the book and kicking him out of my home. Now that a few days have passed, my sister reached out stating that she thinks I need to apologize. Her reasoning being that he had no way of knowing that pulling a harmless prank would have caused such a reaction, especially since he didn't know the reason behind my fear. I stand by that it doesn't matter that he didn't know the details of why I was scared. He was aware that it was a debilitating fear caused by something traumatic and should have known better. Not to mention that he has yet to apologize to me as I broke his nose. Our family believes that my violent reaction was justified, however, they do think that kicking him out was a step too far. So, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Not the a-hole. What gives him the right to put his hands on you? Period. The fact that he knew not to grab you from behind and did it anyway. Fool around and find out comes to mind. And he found a hack out. How old is he? 12? Pranks aren't cute/funny after 12. Not the a-hole. You're pretty awesome. Like movie-style takedown awesome. I like the above suggestion about saying, sorry, you didn't take me seriously and your nose got broken. Kicking him out was a valid reaction. You don't grab women from behind in the dark. No type of apology at all. It is not her fault he is a pervert. Not the a-hole. I'm not buying his innocent prank BS, to be honest. What he did was deliberately cruel. Knowing what it would do to you, he decided to do the thing that traumatized you so much. Think about that. He thought it would be a funny thing to do. That's not a prank. It's freaking psychopathic. It wouldn't surprise me if he was getting a thrill from it. I'm also not believing he doesn't know what happened to you. He knew you had a huge trauma, and he knew that as a result of this, being grabbed from behind is usually triggering for you. Unless he has the intelligence of a lump of moldy cheese, he knows what happened to you. It's not hard to add it up. You owe him nothing. He owes you 1,000 apologies. Now, for the first update. First and foremost, I would like to thank everyone for all the support and wonderful comments, especially all the comments calling me a badass for learning to defend myself and get to the point where I am today. Truly thank you. You all put a genuine smile on my face. Also, all the fool around and find out comments made me laugh, which, after all the recent events, was definitely needed. I wanted to first clarify/answer some common questions I saw. For those wondering what I meant by being grabbed from behind, it is not a simple tap on the shoulder or a gesture someone would make when simply trying to get your attention. When I say grab from behind, think bear hug. Also, for those wondering, my attacker was caught and is currently still behind bars. I ended up sending my family, sister, and brother-in-law included a link to this post. After reading the comments, you all have made family members that were previously thinking that I took it too far in kicking him out apologize and agree that until I felt comfortable, my brother-in-law is not to be invited anywhere I am. Especially since I am told he is doubling down on while maybe it was messed up of him to scare me, it was still just a prank, and I still broke his nose and need to apologize. So, with that being said, I decided that he could kick rocks and I hope his nose heals crooked. My sister and I have not spoken. She sent me a text asking to meet me this weekend to talk. Throughout this ordeal, the thing that has hurt the most has absolutely been the way she has downplayed what her husband did. She more than anyone knows how hard everything was for me and was there to see the aftermath of my attack. Depending on how everything goes this weekend, I will take the advice you all have made and make the decision on whether I need to go low/no contact with her. At least until she fully understands the severity of the situation and apologizes. I will possibly update this post one last time after this weekend to let you all know where we stand. Again, thank you all. Second update. Hello all. After a very difficult and tearful conversation with my sister, I have come to the decision to go low/no contact with her. Completely no contact for some time. She, like the rest of my family after reading all the comments you all have made, finally saw it from my perspective. She did apologize and state that she truly does understand what her husband did was wrong. However, she feels that for the sake of her own marriage that she needs to stick behind her husband. And so in the meantime, if her husband is not welcomed somewhere, she will not be there either. I will say I am very hurt and disappointed, but that was her decision to make. Just like I made my decision in keeping my distance, as it's become clear that it will not be possible to maintain a relationship with her without maintaining one with him, which is not something I am willing to do for the foreseeable future. Almost 3 weeks after the event and after reading hundreds of comments, this man is still doubling down. Even apparently had the nerve to say that the reason why everyone is on my side is because I provided a sob story beforehand. He still apparently fully believes that despite it being messed up, it was still just a joke. And I overreacted, and I'm lucky that he doesn't decide to sue me for the medical bill that he is going to receive for the broken nose. Not that it will go anywhere, as him grabbing me is considered crime. Why do these pranksters think their desire to pull pranks is more sacred than the desire to feel safe in one's own body/home? What is funny about making a woman think she is being attacked? Brother-in-law isn't a prankster, he's a bully. He's lucky it's taken him this long to get his comeuppance. In my experience, people who call themselves pranksters are usually just annoying a-holes. I was pranked by one of my seniors in my college hostel. In her defense, it was not just her, but a lot of idiots who used to do this. Anyhow, she waited in the dark while I was coming out of the cafeteria after dinner. She just made a very loud noise and jumped in front of me. I freaked the heck out, and in reflex slapped her in her face. It was not even in retaliation, just my reflex in that situation. I apologized. She also kinda did. But no one pranked me after that. We all used to joke about it months after this instance. Who the heck sneaks out of a bedroom and grabs a woman from behind by surprise, in her own house, when everybody else is downstairs? This was not a simple prank by jokester. This is sicko behavior. And then it calls the OP's history a sob story? Her actually being freaking violated? This man is dangerous, and I would be worried about OP's sister living with him. Good for the OP breaking his nose. Too bad she didn't rupture his balls. Yeah, it sounds like a guy testing the waters to see how far he can go and still get away with it. A lot of predators test out their technique for creepery on women in their families first. I think she angered him earlier, probably something minor at that he was trying to put her in her place under the guise of a prank. Next story. Would I be the a-hole if I refused to let a friend move in due to their other friendships? Academic year 2019 to 2020. Whilst doing my master's degree, I, 26 female, lived in a flat where I was viciously bullied and gaslit. It put me in an extremely dark place mentally, and I'm still in therapy due to this. It was mostly a group of 3, Jade, 24 female, Erin, 25 female, and Ben, 28 male. I moved into the flat alongside a close friend, Jane, 25 female. Jane did join in with some of the bullying and did absolutely nothing to stop the rest as they were her friends. She is also somewhat romantically involved with Ben and are a bit codependent. She has never apologized and often ignores my boundary of I don't want to know about them or have nothing to do with them. Jane is on the autistic spectrum, which is why I don't hold it against her as much as she doesn't fully understand. I have just tried my best to avoid situations where I know she may have also invited my tormentors. The few times I have seen them due to Jane or running into them, they have been foul. From that nasty giggling behind your back stuff and at things you say, to mocking my accent and implying I have an eating disorder, etc. Considering their age, it is pathetic. We all still live in the same city, sadly. There is a housing crisis in the UK right now, and it is especially bad in my city. I'm lucky and live with two others, 25 female and 26 female, in a pretty flat in a nice neighborhood for far below market value. 25 female is moving out. We are now looking for a replacement and have been flooded with requests, including from Jane. I don't want to live with Jane, as my flat is my home and I want to feel safe here. Not worried about coming home to find people who made my life hell sat in my kitchen. However, I am aware Jane cannot afford a higher rent than this, and her overprotective parents won't allow her to live in a less expensive neighborhood. Meaning, if she doesn't move in with us, she would have to continue living with her parents and commuting. I know living with her parents would be bad for her mental health, as they treat her like a child still. All factors considered, would I be the a-hole if I told Jane she couldn't move in due to her close friendship with people who I feel deeply uncomfortable with, and quite frankly scared of? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. You don't have to tell Jane anything other than she can't move in. Her life and situation is not your problem, and you need to prioritize your own living situation first. Jane made her choices, and she chooses to remain friends with these horrible people. She has consistently chosen them over you, and through her choices, she has excluded herself from ever living in your space again. Not the a-hole. Absolutely this. You need to come first in your life. And by the way, in my opinion, autism is not an excuse for bad behavior. However, the diagnosis/condition does create a need for Jane to learn how to temper her words and actions. Always easier said than done, I know. Her parents or caregivers/caseworkers should have been ahead of the curve on this years ago. Not the a-hole. You deserve to be comfortable in your own home. From how you've described things, Jane does not respect your boundaries. And honestly, I don't know why you're still friends with her because she's clearly not a friend to you. We have been friends for a long time and are part of a tight-knit group separate to this situation. This whole mess is the only bad thing she has ever done to me. And whilst I find it really hurtful, I have decided to forgive her, but I mostly have kept her at arm's length for my own sake. It sounds like you already know what to do. This may be the only bad thing she's done, but it's a pretty big deal, and she still hangs out with these people who have caused you mental anguish. I think you already know that her living in the flat with you will also bring Jade, Aaron, and Ben back into your life as well. Your home should be your safe space, and you have every right to protect your peace. Last story. Am I the a-hole for selling my father's house even though his widow lives there? My 33 female father died recently. He had been married to his widow Penny for about 7 years before. I was not close with my father. We spoke regularly and enjoyed each other's company, but I can't say either of us knew each other well, for many years before his death. When he died, I was surprised to learn that he had left his entire estate to me. He put everything in trust a year before his death, and I am the sole beneficiary. Besides a small sum that he left to Penny, the lawyer said he was advised not to leave her nothing in case she tried to contest it, so everything including his house is now mine. My father's lawyers and mine have advised that the will is structured such that it would be near impossible and very expensive to challenge. I don't want my father's money. I don't need it, and given our relationship, I don't feel right using it. However, he obviously wanted me to have it. So, I intend to transfer everything over to my daughter, make her the beneficiary of the trust, and she will have that in addition to her own trust fund once she is of age. However, I do not want to keep my father's house. I do not live in the same country as my father, and I do not want to deal with the admin of his possessions. I want the legal business done, and to close the book on a very painful chapter and grieve quietly. The trouble is, Penny lives in the house. Penny does not work and was financially dependent on my father. So while the lawyers say she could fight to stay living in the house, she likely can't afford legal counsel. Also, because of her lack of income, she would never be able to maintain the house, which is quite large. So I would then have to keep up the house and grounds while she lived there, which I am not willing to do, both because of the cost and because of the continued involvement with my father's life, which I do not want. I have notified her via the lawyers of the intention to sell the house, which has led to vicious and vitriolic messages from her kids, calling me evil and heartless. I understand this is inconvenient for them, but I'm not responsible for what my father decided to do, nor am I responsible for the people or the mess he left behind. I am not doing this to get one over on Penny. I'm just trying to be done with a traumatic part of my life. Am I the a-hole? Because of the cost for upkeep that you can't afford, I'm going to go with no a-holes here. Except your father, because I find it unconscionable that all he left to his widow was a small sum, and even that was only to avoid her contesting it. Why on earth was he married to someone he cares so little about? My father was a peculiar man. It's quite possible Penny did something small to irritate him one day, and this is how he took his revenge. Once you have a set price with your realtor, give her and her family a chance to purchase the house before you list it. Then if they refuse, go ahead and sell, not the a-hole. This is the right way to do it. Tell her family you are not going to be responsible for the property and are selling, but you will give them the chance to purchase the property before listing it. I have a strong feeling no one will step up. I think this is one of those situations where you have to consider if you can live with your own decision. Opie may be legally in the clear, but this is a deeply personal moral question, since the dad sounds like a horrible man who forced Opie to play a cruel game upon his death. Opie admits it is possible that this whole inheritance could have been a vindictive act of revenge against the wife for something very minor. It is very cruel to have left his wife, who was financially dependent on him, in a completely vulnerable state, and Opie neither wants nor needs the money. While this is Opie's choice to make, they have to decide if they want to play an unwilling role in their father's twisted games, or perhaps sign the house over to the late wife just for their conscience sake.